next in our workflow, we're gonna do is to merge the data and initialize a grid. So we have two data sets. One data set is with expiration data. The other one is with blast hole data. And we want to merge both into a single data set. So let's start looking at the content. So first thing you will notice is that each one of these data sets have different columns. In order to merge them, we have to find the common columns. So looking at our blast hole data, which is the one with the least amount of columns, we have the drill hole ID, X, Y, and Z coordinates, and we have gold, and we have the gold shell. So that's the minimum that we have. So here, that's all that I'm collecting. In this calls list, I have the drill hole ID column, X, Y, Z, the gold, and the domains. And I have an extra column that is not in any of these data sets, but that's a column that I'm going to create. Another thing that it's worth noticing, and let me just copy this dictionary, is that the drill hole ID column for the blast hole ID and the expiration data have different names. So in order to merge these two data sets, I have to have consistent column names. So I have to rename this from blast hole ID to the same as the expiration data, which is just DH. So with this mapping dictionary, mapping BHID to DH, I can use the data frame rename function, which can be used to specify the mapping dictionary for columns. And in place is just gonna mean that it's gonna mutate the object and just replace it internally instead of generating a output. So this line of code is gonna make sure the columns are consistent. And now what I'm doing is creating that BH column, which we specified here and wasn't in the data before. And this is because I want to keep track of what data was originally blast holes and what data was expiration data. So for the blast hole data, I set the BH column to true. For the expiration data, I set the BH column to false. And now what I can do is to concatenate the two data sets for the columns that I have selected above. So those are the columns that they share. And another thing that's important, because we want to concatenate one data on top of the other data, we have to specify the axis. In this case, to concatenate two data sets, we use axis equals 0. The other thing that's important is the blast hole data have indexes starting from 0, and the expiration data also have indexes starting from 0. So if we just concatenate, we are going to have repeated indexes. So in order to avoid that, we do a reset index, which is going to recreate the indices for the data, and we drop the old indexes. So let's run this cell and see what it does. So this generated a single data set called composites, and these composites have the expiration data at the top and the blast hole data at the bottom. So this object now contains all the data, expiration data and blast hole data. Let's clean up some of the cells I created that are no longer needed, and just keep the one that is actually merging the data. So moving forward, we can now also inspect the content of this file, of this object, with the function check value range. So what it does is just takes a look at all the columns that are not metadata and gives us a summary. We see that we have the gold variable. Here's some statistics. Gold is a continuous variable, and we have the categorical variables, which is the flag domain, which is the grade shell. And we also have the column that we created for indicating whether or not this data set is a blast hole or this data point is a exploration data.